And I want to bring into the stream Andy Bird, the CEO of Pearson. It's the 177-year-old textbook company that is going through its own transformation this month. Pearson announced a plan that it would to disrupt online learning with a new direct-to-consumer focus, with the goal to be 100% digital in the next 5 years. Andy, I got to ask you this because we've probably all purchased a Pearson textbook at some point in our educational career. So is the textbook going to die?
Hi, Julia, and thanks for having me on the show. We're seeing a rapid decline in textbooks, physical textbooks, over the past few years, and of course over the past 12 months. That decline has been accelerated. About 70% of Pearson's textbooks now, 75% of Pearson's textbooks are now e-texts. And so we're seeing a big shift towards digital learning.
Andy, is your business primarily the largest segment of it? Would it be the K through 12 or would it be university? Because I can remember paying enormous amounts of money for books in college back in the 1980s, and then you'd get to sell them at the end of the semester. But which is it?
It's a higher education, Adam. It's the U.S. higher education market. We exited out of the U.S. K-12 business a few years ago. We still have a K-12 presence in our international markets, but in the United States, it's broadly the U.S. higher education market.
Another point that stood out to me was, and it's a big conversation we're having in this country, is the reskilling of the workforce. How are you thinking about that as a textbook company that's going digital but has historically been focused now on the higher education? How do you think about reskilling?
Well, we firstly, Pearson's much broader than just a higher ed textbook company. We have a very significant qualifications and assessments business. We are moving into our English language learning business, where we're the world's second largest company in that space. You mentioned our direct-to-consumer division, and in March we announced the launch of a workforce skills division, and that's really to reflect what we've seen, again, another trend accelerating during the pandemic, where in many ways corporations are becoming the universities, the new universities of the future, where the need to reskill and upskill your workforce and for employees to learn new skills along the way is becoming more and more prevalent. We see a very, very large opportunity in that space.
Andy, would there be an acceleration for your business as universities face price pressure? And we now know that you can get the digital education. You don't need to spend $50,000 a year to go to a campus. Could we see it accelerate to the advantage of what you're doing? And might you get accredited at one point in different degrees? Why would I even need to go to the traditional route?
Well, we have great relationships with colleges, community colleges, universities across the world, and we see that relationship continuing. I think, as you mentioned, the way that students learn is becoming more modular, and there's going to be a lot more choices out there. And really at Pearson, we're in the intellectual property creation business, in our higher education business. We create those courseware. There used to be those physical textbooks. Now, as I mentioned, they're more and more increasingly digital. We're launching a college app for US colleges for the fall this year, which we're very excited about. And so you're seeing the dynamics around how people learn, how people pay to learn, changing. But fundamentally, I think learning has never been more important to society.
Andy, I really liked something you said about workplaces becoming the new universities. And you're right, learning is so important. So where are the gaps, and what are the gaps that you're seeing that these companies want to fill when it comes to education? What are the specific skill sets they're targeting in the market?
Well, I mentioned earlier, one of our most significant divisions is our assessment and qualifications division. And in speaking with large corporations, one of the first things that we hear back is, can you, Pearson, help us assess our workforce, help us assess our employees to see what their learning needs are? I think corporations, enterprises becoming a lot more focused on the type of learning that their employees are getting. And that positions Pearson very well, because we can not only assess the workforce, but we can then create bespoke courseware for corporations to ensure their employees get the type of learning, reskilling, upskilling that they're going to need moving forward.
Andy Bird, CEO of Pearson, I thank you so much for joining us today.